Welcome back to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. We've been discussing ways to keep our neighborhoods safe. In the last 2 weeks, we've witnessed the tragic shooting death of an innocent child, 6-year-old Justin Evans Jr., and the injuries of 7- and 9-year-old girls due to gun violence. My next guest represents an organization that was founded with the theory that improvements in public safety require the combination of law enforcement, community organizing, and youth development. Cacy Kemp is the Associate Director of Safe and Sound, and Maritza Ugarte, she is the Community Prosecution Unit Coordinator. How are you, ladies?
Good.
I'm thankful to have you both here. I'd like to start off finding out more about Safe and Sound. Talked a little bit about your mission, but what else do you do?
Yeah, so like you said, Safe and Sound's mission is to unite residents, youth, law enforcement, and community resources to build safe and empowered neighborhoods. We do that through 3 positions. One is the community organizer, who's there to organize and support adult residents. The other is our youth organizers, who are there to organize and to support our youth residents, who we know are very important in public safety. And then our Community Prosecution Unit Coordinators, which is what Maritza does. And they are there to help with nuisance abatement at place-based strategies in the neighborhood.
Okay, and so we just had Captain Boston Smith here talking about National Night Out, and she did mention that Safe and Sound is one of those organizations that partners with the whole concept of building that police and community relationship that's so important. So Maritza, with that said, you are the Community Prosecution Unit Coordinator. Explain what that entails and how your job really does kind of cross the line into helping build those relationships.
Sure. So I'm actually the Community Prosecution Unit Coordinator assigned to District 2, which is on the south side of Milwaukee. When I refer to districts, we're talking about civilian within the Milwaukee Police Department. We also have coordinators in part of the near west side, which is in District 3, as well as 4, 5, and 7, District 7. So really the role is, as a civilian, is to kind of the captain talked about the puzzle piece. So oftentimes we get together with our different representatives of our team, which is basically put together of Community Prosecution Unit Coordinator, myself, a DA's office representative known as a Community Prosecution prosecutor, as well as officers and representatives from the City of Milwaukee Department of Neighborhood Services. And the idea is to basically take in different referrals from various sources, such as the Alderman's office, residents that we meet out in the community, business owners, property owners, and they share with us various public safety concerns, and we kind of come together and figure out how can we problem solve. What is the issue? How can we try to abate it so that the residents that live there are not negatively affected by what's going on? And those, when we talk about nuisance abatement, we're talking about activities varying from nuisance, nuisance like loitering or noise, kind of like loud noise and things like that, all the way up to drug dealing and things like prostitution.
Wow. So even so, if you have an abandoned home, maybe, and there's something going on, not quite sure, as that person, that liaison, you are going to make sure police are aware of something going on.
And oftentimes, for various reasons, we do have some residents who make anonymous referrals to ourselves, and we act as sort of the middle person and get them information until the point where they feel comfortable directly contacting the police. Obviously, we always encourage residents to call the police department, but for whatever reasons they choose not to, we really want to make sure that people are getting that information to the police department so that the police department can address it. So again, we act as a middle person. Oftentimes we build those relationships by being out in the community, and people will tell us things that they may not report directly, so we want to make sure we bridge that gap. The captain also talked about some severed relationships, so we really are trying to connect, all those gaps and those bridges to ultimately have what our mission is, to have a safe neighborhood for everybody. So.
Yeah, and you said some key things there. There are some people who are just not comfortable making that phone call. One, they don't want the police to pull up in front of their home, and then somebody else think that they're responsible for them getting in trouble. They fear sometimes retaliation and things of that nature. So that's why it's so important to have organizations like yours and the National Night Out, so that people can feel like they've built a relationship and they know an officer well enough that they can just give them a call, leave them a voicemail, whatever the case. So thank you for sharing that. Youth-led community improvement projects are also something that you guys do. So I think it's important getting a hold of young people early on and getting them to understand the importance of how they deal with the police and vice versa. So talk about that.
Sure. So back in 2015, we started a new strategic plan that we had, and a part of that was youth organizing. And so what we know is that there are youth that are at community-based organizations, but there are a lot of youth that are not, that they're still on the corners, they're in the streets, they need some guidance. And so our youth organizers go into the neighborhoods, meet kids on the corner, around the block, at the gas station, ask them, hey, what's going on, you know, what's up, give them resources around jobs, give them resources about the community-based organizations in their neighborhood. And they also really try to teach them to be leaders. You know, like the captain said, everyone wants to feel safe. And as we know, talking to the youth, they also say, we want to feel safe as well. And so it's really exciting because Potawatomi has chosen us as their charity this year. And they're giving us funds to do 10 neighborhood-based projects with the youth that will be led by the youth, they will be implemented by the youth, and then at the end, each project will have a party celebrating the youth around providing those projects in those neighborhoods.
That is awesome.
We're super excited about that because we also know that as community-based organizations, a lot of times we don't have the funds to do the extra things. And of course, kids are super excited and they come up with these amazing ideas that a lot of times we're not able to fund. And so we're so grateful to Potawatomi and being their Heart of Canal charity, and we'll be able to do that this coming year.
I love that, and we've had representatives from Potawatomi on talking about the Heart of Canal Street, and they always pick their own charity. So I'm guessing Safe and Sound, you were the chosen one.
For this year.
That's awesome for this year. Is that a $100,000 award?
Yes, it's $100,000. And the projects will actually start in 2018.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
And since we are talking about all the awesome things that are happening for your organization, recently the Milwaukee Bucks Foundation, they named Safe and Sound as one of 15 local organizations that will be splitting $1 million gifts. So you talked about kids coming up with ideas that you sometimes want to implement, but the funds not being there. When you look at the amount of money that you've received in just this short period of time, what type of ideas have come to mind? Are you guys still kind of throwing some things around?
Yeah, I mean, they're youth-led, so we're going to go into the neighborhoods and find out what the youth want to do and actually let them do it.
I love that.
Yeah, so we're super excited
doesn't stop
about that.
there. Right? Safe and Sound's been recognized nationally for what you do as well. You were given an award for community leadership from former FBI Director James Comey. Was that this year?
That was this year, yes. Our executive director flew out to D.C. and was able to accept it.
So that had to be another proud moment for your organization.
Yes, very proud.
All right. And so I wanted to quickly give out your website address in case there's something that you've mentioned that people would like to get more information on.
Yes, our website is safesound.org.
Okay. Let's talk about block watches, because that's something else that's huge, because you've got neighbors who are looking out for each other. So if somebody looks out the window and says, now I know that person's at work and nobody's supposed to be there, that's what block watches are about. So if there's someone who's watching who would like to get their block or their neighborhood together and form block watches, what exactly do they do?
Cacy mentioned our website, and I would highly suggest that people go to our website because it does have actual resources where it tells you, basically breaks down a how to, almost like checklist or resource that tells you how to start forming a block watch. Not every block watch is the same. The main concept is that people look out for each other. When I was young, I knew, that I can get away with things because I knew that the neighbor was going to come find my mom and let her know what's going on. So we knew, not to do that. So we want to have that same connection between neighbors and for neighbors to look out for each other. So if you check out our website, it actually gives you information on the various community organizers that work in your neighborhood. So please contact them, as well as your community liaison officer per district. And those, we all kind of work together. We're all on the same team. So those organizers work very closely with the CLOs to get that started. So.
All right. Well, I thank you both for coming by and giving out such great information today. It has been a pleasure.
Great.
Thank you. Cacy Kemp. She is the Associate Director of Safe and Sound, and Maritza Ugarte. She is the Community Prosecution Unit Coordinator. For more information on Safe and Sound, visit their website, which is again safesound.org, or call 414-220-4798. That's going to do it for today's show. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope you join us again next week as we take another look at Our Issues Milwaukee. Have a great day.